All right, now I'd like to start talking about texturing. And before I talk about texturing, I actually have to talk about something called UV mapping. So if I go to create polygon primitives cube, I'll go ahead and scale this up. What is UV mapping? Well, this is our 3D shape. And if I go to my workspace, okay, which is normally Maya Classic, if I switch this to UV editing, and then now I can open up the UV editor. I could also open that by going to UV editor here, as long as I'm in the modeling menu set. Okay. Now when I click on the shape, the cube, I should see its flat representation here. So what does this mean? Well, I can't paint directly on the model here. So what we need to do is we need to take a two-dimensional representation of it, bring that into Photoshop to allow us to paint it like kind of like a coloring book, and then we're going to then apply that back onto the three-dimensional model. Okay, that might sound kind of weird, but that's just kind of the way that it is. And later, I'm going to be talking about how to actually unfold a three-dimensional shape to lay it flat. But I'm just going to start with this cube that's already done so you can understand why you need to lay it flat and how there's a relationship between this shape and this shape. So with this shape selected in object mode, in the UV editor, I'm going to go to image, UV snapshot. Now I'm going to say, I'm going to put that on the desktop. I'll just call that UV dice, okay? And 2048 by 2048, 2048 by 2048, and I'll go ahead and hit apply. Okay, and now I'll open that in Photoshop. Okay, great. And I can press Control-I to invert that. And I'll double click on the background layer to unlock it. Okay. Now, if I go to image canvas size, I can see that 2048 by 2048, that was the size that I told it to be. Okay. Now, the rule of the dice is this, is that the opposite sides of the dice, or the die, equal 7. So if a 1 was here, that means 6 would be on this side. And if a 2 was here, 5 would be over here. And then it would be 3 and then 4. Okay? So I'm going to try to do that using my 2D layout. So if I come in here, okay, now I can go, let's say if I start here with 1, okay, then this, if I imagine this kind of folded up, I think this is the side, this would be the top, this would be kind of folding around the back. So this would be the opposite side. So I'm going to put 6 dots on this one. Then if this one was 2, this one would be its opposite, and that would have 5. And if this one's 3, this would be the opposite, that would have 4. Okay, great. Now, if I draw out here, that's obviously not going to have any effect because it falls outside of our grid lines. So it doesn't even matter what I put out here. I wouldn't even have to put anything out there. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that. And now let's see if I can bring this into our Maya file. So to do that, I'm just going to go File, and I'm going to go Save As, and I'm going to call this dice underscore color. And I'm going to save it as a JPEG. Okay, good. Now, if I come back here, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click Assign Favorite Material. And now I have to choose, do I want it to be shiny or not shiny? Okay, Lambert or Blinn. And a dice is kind of shiny, so I'm going to choose Blinn. And on the Blinn, I'm going to call this dice underscore material, enter. And now you can see that I could change the color of the die here. Okay. Obviously, I don't want to do that. I want to apply the texture that we created. So if I go here to the checker, now I can go to the file, and I'm going to go to the folder, and then if I go find that, here it is, dice color, open. And you'll notice that you don't see anything. You have to press 6, as in, so the shortcut 4 is wireframe, 5 is shaded mode, and 6 is texture. Okay, let's see how we did. Okay, if I click on this, I can see that sure enough, that's exactly what we painted in Photoshop. And I can see the relationship that it has with this model here. Okay, so we said this was the 1, on the opposite side should be 6. Here's the 2, on its opposite side should be 5. And then here's 3, and on its opposite side should be 4. So excellent. We now have a relationship between our UV map and our dice here. Okay, so let's say if I wanted kind of a more complex graphic, an image or something along those lines, I could do that. I could just go online and I could find like any image, let's say okay, let me see. Okay, so I just looked, maybe able to just type in casino. Okay, casino logo. Okay, and let's say this one here. Now, obviously, make sure that you would have access and rights to use anything that you're using. And okay, so if let's say if I wanted to use this, I would I could say right click, go to save image, and I could say logo. Now I could open this in Photoshop. Okay, and I'm going to copy that, Control A, Control C, and then Control V, and now I could put this anywhere that I want. Okay, and I could erase. Okay, using any Photoshop skills, I mean, I could make this as complex as I want. Now, if I save this, I'll just save it exactly what it was called before. So here it is, dice color, save it the same format, JPEG. And I'll replace it. Now when I go back into Maya, you can see here that this is the color. I could just hit reload, and there it is. Okay, so it's kind of cool. We have to kind of talk to our 3D models in a 2D program. Okay, and that's kind of weird when you're just starting off with this. But I feel like once you understand the concept between, you know, the 2-dimensional shape and the 3-dimensional shape, it can become a powerful back and forth with understanding how the materials are going to lay on the models. So in a later lesson, I'll actually show once again how to unwrap it, but now we're getting a good sense of why we would want to unwrap it.